Hi, and thanks for joining Scruffy Politics. Stimpy here in Detroit, Steve over there in the western suburbs of Chicagoland, and we're going to talk this evening about political violence. So we had a tragic situation recently where a few people were murdered, actually, by this nut job in Minnesota. He specifically shot this Melissa Hortman, who I guess was a Minnesota state representative or Speaker of the House, I think, actually, in Minnesota she was. But in any event, I guess here's my take on it. I just think that, everybody is producing clickbait these days. So everybody, all the Republicans want to make sure that this person is labeled as a Democrat, and all the Democrats want to make sure this person's labeled as a Trump supporter. And I just think anybody that goes to this level to actually murder someone is a psychotic whack job. They're mentally insane. They have multiple issues. And I just think that we should all as a society learn to drop the political party affiliation associated with these people. And the other thing I wish they would do, because ever since we had these school shootings, we've had so many copycat killers, I wish that the media could adopt some method where they could put this out, maybe like put the information, just the facts out in print form, and stop talking about this guy on TV and stop showing his photo. That's how you take morons like this Luigi idiot that murdered that guy and they turn him into a folk hero. Now this guy's getting marriage proposals in jail, from stupid young women. I mean, that's crazy. Stop talking about the guy. Stop showing his photo. He's like the worst our society has to offer, so make him irrelevant. That's how you deal with these people. And I guarantee you, I bet you if we did that, we'd probably start seeing less of this. Because once people start figuring out, I'm not going to become a media star? You mean I'm not going to get a fancy prison cell and I'm going to get to do write books and do interviews for the rest of my life as a very important person? Oh, I'm not going to get to do all that? Oh, I guess there's no benefit to going out and murdering someone publicly then.
Something I agree with you right there. 100%. Stop glamorizing these guys, and also stop, pitting these people to political parties. From what I know, the guy was a huge Trump fan, according to when his roommate spoke on TV. However, that shouldn't matter. It's not like Trump told him to go out and, shoot these guys, However, though, the political discourse these days has become so encouraging of violence amongst folks, and it's on both sides. There's psychos who are Democrats, there's psychos who are Republican, there's psychos who are MAGAs out there, and I don't like to put all MAGAs as I don't like to pit all Republicans and MAGAs together. There still are real Republicans out there. However, it shouldn't be that way. There's a lot of people who are psycho that could be Bernie Sanders supporters, and then a lot of psychos who are Trump
There was
supporters.
a psycho who was a Bernie Sanders supporter. Remember the guy who shot Steve Scalise?
Yeah.
Actually shot up a whole bunch of people.
Yeah. Unfortunately, though, the news is showing this guy's face and picture and getting this guy a lot of attention, which is probably what he wanted. And I mean, that's where we agree on. What I don't agree on is Mike Lee, senator from Utah, makes a joke like a day or two later about the shooting. It's not exactly the right timing to make a joke about that. I mean, I'm sorry, but there's just some things you shouldn't joke about. God forbid. Now, if it was a Democrat who joked about Steve Scalise when he got shot a few years ago, you would have bet the Republicans would be, fuming about that. But
I don't get it because, so I agree with you. You shouldn't be making any jokes when people are murdered. But I guess I looked it up because I hadn't heard what he said. Apparently the comment that he made was one of them was X post where he said, "This is what happens when Marxists don't get their way." I don't think that's really laughing or making a joke. I think what he's saying is he's pointing out, which I think is true, that some people are so crazy about politics that there's no compromise. There's no middle ground for them. And who maybe this guy was a political zealot, and yeah, that was his attitude. And maybe he felt like this lady compromised, and he's like, that's unacceptable. So I think that's just kind of like I don't see that as a joke. Now, his other comment, he said, Nightmare on Walt Street. Okay, so that's kind of a joke. He's doing a play off of Nightmare on Elm Street, but
Yeah,
it was
but
Tim Waltz that
why bring
appointed this
Walls
guy.
into it? Walls didn't even know this guy. This guy was appointed in a nonpartisan um, group and by a previous governor, then got rolled over into the next administration, which was Walls. Walls didn't even know the guy, so it's why associate him with Walls?
Well, the one
Trump?
thing I will say, I wonder, not saying that there is a connection or this guy did it because of Waltz, but Waltz has been very vocal. I mean, he has, Kamala went off into hiding. She's almost nowhere to be found, right?
Yeah.
But Waltz has been everywhere in front of a camera. And he's been saying all kinds of crazy stuff. I mean, I still remember his latest comment where he said, somebody like Donald Trump, you have to bully him. You just have to. That's the right way to deal with someone like that. You bully him. And I'm like, really? The entire society has been trying to teach people not to bully people.
Wait. You're offended about that? when our president does a lot worse. And he is a bully.
I mean, but Trump doesn't go around telling people to bully other Americans. He literally said we need to bully somebody.
Oh, Trump is a jackass, and he will bully whoever he could bully. And yes,
and the Democrats were the ones who decried Trump was like perpetrating violence, because at his rally the one time he said, what we used to do to people like that was something or other. But Waltz was the one who, I forget, what did he say now? I don't know. Anyway, he made some comment about being violent.
Waltz isn't president. Waltz isn't president. Donald J. Trump is president, and that's what matters. Okay.
Well,
and
they're still putting a microphone in front of him. They think he's relevant for some reason, which I don't get it.
Well, I mean,
it's not like he has any future outside of once his term is up as governor. I would imagine he'll disappear. I mean, he was part of a horrible ticket that lost. I would imagine we'd never see him again unless he gets appointed to something. You can't stop appointments. That's how most of these people, they survive like roaches in Washington, D.C., because there's a lot of positions in Washington where you just appoint somebody.
Yeah.
There's no election, no Senate approval. What?
Look at RFK. He's in charge of Health and Human Services. I mean, how idiotic can it get?
Yeah, and actually think about it. Think about that just for a second. How did that happen? It happened because the Democrats stopped him from running on the Democrat side against Biden. Now, if they would have just let that grow through and walk the talk as they talk about democracy, if they would have had an open primary and let him run, he would have been defeated and he wouldn't be on the Republican side now. But they wouldn't let it. They talk like they believe in democracy.
Where he'll go to whoever he could suck the blood from. He's sucking the blood from the Republicans. He knows Trump is easy to manipulate, and I mean he's actually a smart man with manipulation and getting Trump to like him and accept him, because he knew he wasn't accepted by the Democrats, which I think with the Democrats, good for them, because had they accepted him, they would have lost a lot of respect amongst a lot of people, and not that they're respected much anyways, but that would have done them a little worse. Yeah.
Well, he was smart, and he actually gave speeches about this, because he said, he was like, they don't believe in democracy. They're not acting in a democratic manner. They're gonna swipe me the way they did Bernie against Hillary. So it's a rigged game. Like, they've already decided Biden's the guy and he's getting it. So I'll go to where they do it. I mean, it was kind of funny when you think about it. The Democrats actually stopped everybody else from competing against Biden just to have him drop out, which was just unbelievably ridiculous the way they handled it. But on the Republican side, even though Trump had already been president, there was still lots of people that ran, and he still took them all on. He was like, "Hey, sure, no problem, come on in," you know.
Yeah, but not this last time. This last time, there was what's her name that ran? Nikki Haley, but then she didn't have a chance, and she hated him, and then she loves him, so she has the Trump knee pads on. So it's both parties drive me crazy.
The problem is all these people that competed against Trump, they all had it wrong, and that's why there was no support for him.
But at least before he became president in 2016, at least they told the truth about him. Ted Cruz told the truth about him. What's his name? Marco Rubio did. Other Republicans did. Lindsey Graham, who I think is the phoniest of all of them. He did. He even had J.D. Vance a long time ago call him a Hitler. Okay, but now he's the vice president. See how dysfunctional
my point being is all those people that said the things that you liked, that was great for getting support from Democrats, but it didn't get you any Republican votes, and that's why Trump won the nomination easily.
But
he didn't even show up. He didn't even go to the debates, and he still won.
How the Republican Party flops whenever they know with these guys like Ted Cruz, oh my God, Ted Cruz.
No, you know what it is. I mean, I can speak to that. I don't consider myself like a hardcore MAGA person or whatever, or even a Republican. I would consider myself more of like a conservative, I guess is the term that I would use. But the reason that I would never support any of those people is because I saw them all as not supporting the conservative agenda. They would say that they're going to support the conservative agenda, but the minute they got the chance, if you gave them power, they would turn into Mitch McConnell on you. And you know what they would do is they'd sit down and they'd give the Democrat whatever deal they wanted. So why would I vote for somebody like that?
Yeah, well,
Nikki Haley was fake. Asa Hutchinson was fake. I mean, you just go down the list. They were all fake.
Cruz, I think he's probably the most conservative of them. Trump is not conservative. Trump was conservative. He wouldn't have spent millions and millions of dollars on a stupid birthday party for himself that's on the taxpayer dime. He wouldn't. He just. Yeah. He's.
I don't think of Trump necessarily as Republican. I think of Trump as. How would I describe Trump? I would describe him as.
Moocher. He's a moocher off of the American tax dollar. Yes.
I would describe him as a pragmatist or a realist that honestly, I'm not sure that he buys into either of these ideologies. I think he was described as a Democrat for many years in New York because he was like, that's what you have to be to have people like you and get deals done, right? And then when he decided to run for office, he switched over to the conservative side. But I think really he's
benefits him.
he's about He's about, I mean, some things are just common sense. You know, I mean, like this whole transgender thing. I mean, come on.
He's not any more conservative as any of these other Republicans. And I wouldn't even say, down the road, if you compare it, I wouldn't even say he's more fiscally conservative than George W. Bush if you look at all of his spending that he does carelessly. If it wasn't for that Iraq war, George W. Bush would have had a better success as president. But, yeah. But time is almost up.
Yep.
So, yeah, thank you for listening and tuning in. Please subscribe, tell your friends. This is the fastest growing podcast in the Kane County area where I am from and in my subdivision. So thank you. And it's probably the fastest growing podcast in your subdivision too, Brett.
Yes, absolutely. Fastest growing podcast here in a 20-mile radius of my house in the outskirts of Detroit.
Yes.
All right, everybody. We'll see you later.
Thank you.